On this episode of Eat Sleep Drive, we finally restore the headlights on my M45, and I give you 5 tips for how to get the most out of a headlight restoration kit. There are many different types of headlight restoration kits on the market. Today I'm going to be specifically covering the 3M kit, although the procedure for each one is very similar. I'm going to be taking you step by step through the process, but more importantly, I'm going to be showing you a couple tips of things I've learned along the way with this kit. The first thing you're going to want to do before you restore these headlights is to clean this headlight and the surrounding area. Because you're going to be taping it off. This kind of leads way to my first tip. First tip is to buy some quality masking tape. This is cheap masking tape, and I've already done the other side, so learn from my mistake. This cheap masking tape, it came up, especially once it was wet on the other side, and started to tear in certain areas, so it gave me all kinds of problems. So first tip, just go ahead and spend the extra money and get quality 3M masking tape. We've taped off the area, and now we're getting to where we're actually going to start the restoration. So what we need to do is remove all this oxidation, and to do that we're going to want to use some sort of sandpaper. And all of these kits come with typically different kinds of sandpaper. This is a 3M kit, so it comes with 500 grit, 800 grit, more of like a wet sanding, I don't even know what to call this, magic pad, and then finally your polishing pad. But this leads into my second tip. Since, like I said, I've already done the other side, I created a lot more work for myself because I immediately went to the 500 grit. If your headlight is like mine, it is oxidized, but it's not super terrible, don't automatically jump to the 500. You can, if you go through the process with the 800 and further down the line and it's still a little bit hazy, you can jump back down to the 500, but don't create more work for yourself and take off more layers than you really need with a 500. So second tip is to use the appropriate disc for your type of oxidation. So because of my experience with the other side, I'm going to start with an 800 grit. You're going to be wet sanding, so you're going to want to keep this disc nice and lubricated, and then just apply gentle pressure and sort of a medium throttle, and go ahead and start removing the oxidation. You can see what's happening here. This milky substance is all the oxidation and the junk that you're trying to get off of this headlight. So and one thing you also need to know is that when you're doing this, the headlight's going to get worse before it gets better. So when we use this sandpaper, it's going to really rough up this surface and it's going to get really cloudy. But don't freak out. It's part of the process. Just kind of go with it. But keep spraying with your spray bottle. Keep it nice and lubricated, and just use gentle pressure and go through the rest of the headlight. Now you'll notice while sanding, you can see already right here, this it's like a white milky substance. Now if you had a keen eye when I started, it was much more yellow, and that was due to all the oxidation. Now that I've got kind of like a consistent just white milky substance running down, I'm pretty sure that I've removed all the heavy layer of oxidation. So I'm pretty happy that I started with the 800 grit pad. I didn't create more work for myself by jumping right to the 500 pads. So now we've come to tip number 3. This specific kit, this 3M kit, I mentioned has 800 grit sandpaper, which we just used, and then they would want you to move on to this disc, which is kind of more just soft, more of a finishing disc right before a polish. But what I noticed on the other side was after using the 800 and then this and then polishing, I still had some light swirls in the headlight, which were obviously not ideal. Get some finer grit sandpaper. This is 2000 grit. While you're at the store, when you buy your headlight restoration kit, do yourself a favor and get this higher grit sandpaper. This 800 grit is just too too coarse and leaves too many marks, I'm gonna go over by hand because I don't have anything that like would stick on the back of the pad that came with. On to the next step. So we've done the 800 grit, we've done the 2000 grit. Now we're gonna use this foam pad, which you know, is, according to 3M, is somewhere on the lines of a 3000 grit. We're gonna use a foam pad now and keep it lubricated just as you did each other step. All right, so this leads into my fourth tip, and this happened on the other side. If you see over here, this cheap tape, and hopefully this doesn't happen if you get quality tape, I've rubbed through it from the pad. You know, it's fully exposed paint. Now on the other side, I was like, oh, I could totally avoid this. I'm not gonna worry about it, and I kept going. And then when I pulled all the tape off and I was done, I had clearly, and I'll show you a photo, I had clearly kind of done some damage a little bit on the paint where the tape was missing. So tip number 4 is, if you have a tear in your tape, stop immediately, patch it up, and then move on. As you can see, I've just completely dried the headlight. We are officially done with all of our wet sanding, so I completely dried it because we're moving on to the second to last step, and definitely the most satisfying step, because this is where you really get to see the headlight transform. I'm gonna get my polish, put a little bit on here, and then so it doesn't fling everywhere, go ahead and kind of smear it around the headlight. Because if you just go balls out and start polishing with a big goop on here, it's just gonna fling everywhere. So spread it out, and then just use a medium speed and medium pressure, and just go over the whole headlight. Okay, so we just finished our polishing. There's still a little polish on the headlight. Let's remove it with a microfiber towel and see what our end product is. Look at that. Look at the clarity. All the haziness is gone, all the yellowness is gone. And it is basically like a new headlight. So there is one more step, and that leads me to my 5th and final tip. And this is perhaps the most crucial, because you just spent all this time correcting this headlight, and because of that, it is now vulnerable to UV more than any other time. So what we need to do is protect it. For that protectant, I'm going to recommend a sealant. This is Menzerna Power Lock. It's a really good sealant. We're going to go ahead and apply some sealant. First, we're going to remove all this tape and just really clean it up real thoroughly before we put the sealant on. So the headlight's nice and dry. We're going to wrap this up with tip number 5, and that is the protectant. Once again, this is Menzerna Power Lock, but you can use whatever sealant you prefer, and just a foam applicator. And just like you would do on the rest of the car if you would seal or wax a car, all you're going to do is just lightly spread the sealant on. Don't be afraid to get it on the paint, because you're just going to end up protecting the paint. No problem there. We're going to let this dry to a haze, and then we're going to wipe it off, and then we will be done. The sealant has dried to a haze. Let's go ahead and remove it and unveil our final product that is now fully protected from those UV rays. One thing to keep in mind is that this is sealant, and it does only last for a certain amount of time. So, 6 to 12 months, you're going to want to reapply so you can protect that hard work that you have invested in the headlight. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I just want to reiterate those 5 tips. Make sure you buy quality tape. 3M tape is hard to beat. Start with the highest grit sandpaper that you can get away with, which will remove the oxidation but not make too much work for you in the end. You're going to want to buy some additional higher grit than what is included with a kit to get that ultimate clarity, and you don't want any scratches in the end there. You're definitely going to want to fix any tape that comes up immediately so you don't end up messing up your paint surrounding the headlight. And very last but not least is protect that headlight at the end. You spend all that time doing that, and you don't want it to just get oxidized again. So get a quality sealant and apply it every 6 to 12 months. But as you can see, I think we're pretty happy with the result. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Check out our channel. We have a bunch of other do-it-yourself videos, car reviews, trips to go get cars, just screwing around with cars. So we really appreciate you watching, and we hope to see you next time.